4 countries: Venezuela, Nicaragua.
So a new twist emerges in America's immigration crisis. A program of flights bringing people into the country from several different places, and it was all a big secret until recently.
Customs and Border Patrol data showing that 357,000 migrants have been flown into the U.S.
They're going to states like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Louisiana. Other flights we just haven't been able to track. It's impossible.
Desperation was a common emotion we found in northern Mexico, where tens of thousands of migrants are waiting for a chance to come to the U.S.
The migrants in this CHNV program are able to apply for asylum. There are strict eligibility requirements, though, for this program, including having a supporter in the United States.
The migrants who are coming here, are they generally wanting to come to the U.S.?
Yes. Like at 90%.
92%,
yes.
You said.
More than 161,000 migrants flew into 4 of Florida's major airports. That means Florida received 80% of all the migrant flights.
This is not new. This is a part of everyday procedures. There's nothing mysterious or nefarious about it.
I want to show you how we've been able to get the video. We found this one little spot where there's barbed wire, but you can see through and you can see the charter planes.
So a controversial program flying people into America was recently expanded at the start of 2024 at New York City's Port Authority bus terminal. And this program of flights has already delivered 15,000 people to this city. And just like the Texas program that bused people here, 30,000, you can get a bus from the airport right here, and it is a major arrival destination. But unlike the interstate drama that took place between New York and Texas, this program is federal. And what exactly makes it controversial, and why is it a big secret?
Fox News obtained Department of Homeland Security documents that break down the asylum seekers parole program. The program allows up to 30,000 asylum seekers every month to be flown to the U.S. from 4 countries: Venezuela.
Very first time, internal DHS data reveals the U.S. cities that hundreds of thousands of Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan migrants have flown into via a controversial mass parole program. The DHS data was obtained. More than 161,000 migrants flew into 4 of Florida's major airports. That means Florida received 80% of...
CBS News has obtained internal federal documents that could allow some Palestinian refugees to enter the United States.
Now, this plan would provide a safe haven for certain people looking to flee Gaza.
Another proposal involves getting additional Palestinians out of war-torn Gaza and then processing them again as refugees. We understand that this potential eligible population is fairly narrow and relatively small. It is very difficult to get people out of Gaza due to the war there and the restrictions that Egypt and Israel have placed on people leaving. Any of these plans would require the consent of the government in Egypt. The administration, as you know, has already been facing significant political challenges, as illustrated by these protests and demonstrations across many universities and colleges here. It is also important to note that this could pose an awkward political situation with Israel because...
Meanwhile, in the U.S., a sudden wave of thousands of migrants has sparked a humanitarian crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. The Texas border town of Del Rio is struggling to cope with the massive influx of people seeking safety and prosperity in the United States.
More than 10,000 people living under a bridge. This is the scene at the U.S.-Mexico border as thousands of migrants from Haiti, many of whom began their trek overland as far away as Colombia, find their long and often dangerous journeys stopped at the international bridge connecting Del Rio in Texas to Mexico's Ciudad Acuña. The situation is becoming desperate.
We now have 1/3 of the population of the city of Del Rio, Texas, in a confined space under the City of Del Rio International Bridge. So that said, I had thought that the alarm was set on Monday. This is setting the nuclear bomb alarm that this is no longer sustainable, acceptable.
Overwhelmed by the surge of asylum seekers, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced it will use a pandemic-related authority to immediately expel migrants back to Haiti without allowing them an opportunity to claim asylum. But with the promise of a better life in sight, migrants refuse to give up their dreams of a new life in America. I don't want to be deported. If I'm deported now, I'll die in Haiti. Why? Because there's no security in Haiti. With no better option than to hunker down and hope. Scores of people waded back and forth across the Rio Grande into Mexico to resupply, buying water, food, diapers, before returning to the Texas side and the uncertain wait under the bridge.
And which reveals yet another crisis at the border in America. Under the international bridge in Del Rio in Texas, a camp that's become home to thousands, and which reveals yet another crisis at the border in America. They cross the Rio Grande River that forms the border between the US and Mexico, most of them Haitians, willing to take the chance that they will be processed and allowed in, willing to tolerate what's been described as a squalid existence here.
There is not enough food to give to everybody who's inside there. We need to get out of the camp to look for food. Things are worse.
It is these pictures of Border Patrol agents on horseback, pushing migrants into the river, that have caused so much anger. For some, they carry the echoes of the worst chapters of American history.
What we witness takes us back hundreds of years. What we witnessed was worse than what we witnessed in slavery. Cowboys, with their reins again, whipping black people, Haitians, into the water.
The US has already removed thousands from the camp, large numbers flown back to Haiti, a country many of them left after the earthquake a decade ago and now consumed by violence and poverty. These chaotic scenes prompting the resignation of the US Special Envoy. I will not be associated with the United States' inhumane, counterproductive decision to deport thousands of Haitian refugees, Daniel Foote wrote to the Secretary of State. Our policy approach to Haiti remains deeply flawed. And it is a crisis the President has so far not addressed.
We could not see it as any more different from the policy of the prior administration, which the President feels, we all feel, was inhumane, immoral, ineffective, wasn't operationally working.
In Texas, the river crossings have been stopped for now, and the authorities say the camp will be empty within days. But the flow of those trying to reach America, it seems, can't be stopped. The only question is where and when this will happen again.
Governor Ron DeSantis says he may send migrants, more of them, to Martha's Vineyard. The Republican and former presidential candidate made the comment while on the podcast, The Dana Show with Dana Lash, when he was asked about immigrants from Haiti coming into Florida as violence grows in their country. He said their next stop very well may be the Vineyard. Last year, DeSantis made national headlines when he flew 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard, saying states with sanctuary policies should take care of them.
Give us a sense, because we hear a lot of anecdotal reporting, some reports about a few here, a few there. How big a problem is this?
It's a massive problem that continues to grow. So today we are talking about 660,000 asylum cases. If you want to compare that to a little over a decade ago, in 2010, we had about 100,000 asylum cases. And if you combine those asylum cases with all the different cases that would be in the immigration courts, including deportation orders, for example, we're talking about immigration courts facing upwards of 1.8 million cases, which is why asylum seekers, so many migrants, are waiting years in order to hear their cases heard.
So, Krish, my understanding is before all this happened, we didn't have enough people to hear all those cases, the pending cases. And now they seem to be ramping up substantially. I've seen numbers that back in 2019, the last time under President Trump, before we had the pandemic, it was something like 900,000 incidents across the border. It was now 2 million last year, and we're, I think, at 1.6 million so far this year. How can we ever process that many claims for asylum?
Yeah, I think it's important to put the 2 million in context because President Trump introduced a rule, Title 42, which was a purported public health rule, but really it was an immigration enforcement rule that was used, that used public health rationale in order to apply it.